Hey there, if you're a young professional just starting your career, finally pulling in that first real salary, then this explainer was built absolutely 100% for you. Today, we're diving deep into the math of getting rich slowly. I know. In a world that is completely obsessed with overnight success, slow doesn't sound very sexy. But as you'll see, slow, steady financial growth, it's literally your ultimate superpower in 2026. Let's get into it.
So, what is so strange about wealth in 2026? Well, most people actually think getting rich boils down to one big explosive moment, right? We're constantly bombarded with these viral stories. The 27-year-old who just quit her job to run some seven-figure dropshipping empire. Or that guy who retired because he bet his life savings on a crypto coin right before a massive pump. It's everywhere. But here is the cold, hard truth that those viral posts are definitely not telling you.
The reality is, most financially successful people become wealthy in the most boring way imaginable. They don't sprint, they run a marathon. The great myth of our time is that wealth requires this high-stress, get-rich-quick sprint, driven almost entirely by pure luck. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a low-friction, highly predictable marathon driven by simple, boring math. In an era where our attention spans have basically collapsed, the person who leans into this slow marathon, they have a massive advantage. Which brings us to Section 1, the income illusion.
Okay, so most people believe that a high income automatically equals wealth. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Behavior creates wealth, especially now in 2026. Lifestyle inflation has literally accelerated to warp speed. Every single time you get a raise, society has 100 different ways to take it right back from you. Bigger apartments, nicer cars, a dozen new subscriptions. If your spending grows at the exact same speed as your income, you're never going to create any distance between them. And here's the secret. Wealth absolutely only grows in that distance. That gap is exactly where your freedom lives. To escape this trap, we need to look at a brilliant concept from financial writer Benjamin Langford. He breaks things down into human capital versus financial capital. Human capital is basically just renting out your ability to work, your standard 9-to-5 job. Financial capital, on the other hand, is using your surplus cash to buy assets that actually pay you while you sleep. Now, unless you happen to inherit a trust fund, you absolutely must strictly limit your spending to create that surplus. That's how you transition the value of your daily labor into real working capital.
Moving right along to Section 2, the real wealth formula.
There is a definitive formula for sustainable wealth, and it goes like this. Wealth equals income plus time plus consistency minus lifestyle inflation. Did you notice what's totally missing from that equation? Luck. There is zero luck involved here. Sustainable wealth doesn't rely on it at all. Instead, it relies on compound habits. It's like author James Clear's famous 1% rule. If you make these tiny, daily, behavioral micro-improvements, just getting 1% better every day, you don't just end up 37% better in a year. Mathematically, you compound to become 37 times better. That is huge.
And when you apply that kind of exponential compounding to your money, the math is just undeniable. Let's say you save a seemingly insignificant $5 a day. That's literally just skipping one fancy iced coffee. That $5 becomes $150 a month. Over 20 years, assuming an average 8% return, that insignificant $5 a day magically morphs into over $50,000. It feels totally invisible while it's happening, but the math is absolute.
Let's look at Section 3, why the first 100K is hard.
The legendary investor Charlie Munger once offered a very blunt reality check. He famously said, "The first $100,000 is a bitch." And you know what? Mathematically, he hit the nail on the head. In the very beginning, your progress feels completely invisible. Why? Because your investments aren't doing the heavy lifting yet. You are. Your income, your discipline, and your day-to-day sacrifices are the only things fueling that early growth.
This is exactly why starting early matters so much more than going big later on. Let's look at two people. Person A starts at age 25, putting in just $500 a month. Person B waits until they're 35 and tries to play catch-up by dumping in $1,000 a month. Even though that late starter is investing twice as much cash, the early starter wins easily. Why? Because the system rewards duration over intensity. Person A simply gave the math more time to multiply. Next up, Section 4, stacking automated micro habits. So how do we actually put this into practice? Creator Paul Jarvis outlines 3 crucial steps to build your foundation. Step 1, face reality. You've got to track every single dollar so you know exactly where you're bleeding out financially. Step 2, build the shield. By automating your savings. Look, human beings are emotional creatures, and emotional people make inconsistent money choices. Automation removes all that decision fatigue and takes willpower completely out of the equation. And step 3, transfer that money to your investment burrito, like an ETF or an index fund. For a beginner, a simple index fund is the ultimate low-stress strategy. It wraps hundreds of top companies into one easy package, giving you instant diversification with zero daily management. Set it and forget it.
But beyond the mechanics, there's a really vital psychological micro-habit you need in your toolbox, the 24-hour pause rule. It's super simple. Just wait a full day before making any non-essential purchase. Just create a little space between the urge to buy and the action of buying. By prioritizing your long-term peace over getting a bunch of packages at your door, you fundamentally reshape your identity. You go from being a reactive spender to a calm, focused builder. Oh, and quick pause right here. If you are finding value in this explainer's deep dive into real-world math and financial psychology, do us a huge favor and subscribe to Langford Invests. We are totally dedicated to cutting through all the fake guru noise out there and bringing you realistic, data-backed strategies that actually work. Okay, back to the math. Here is Section 5, Boring Investments and Flexibility.
Now, a lot of traditional financial advice pushes strict retirement accounts, but the catch is they lock your money up for 30-plus years. If you're a young professional, keeping your money in taxable index funds and cash offers you total flexibility. Financial planner Logan Murray makes a great point here. Giving up a little bit of a tax benefit to keep your money accessible, say to buy a house, start a business, or just handle an emergency, is often the much smarter mental health move. Having liquidity provides absolute peace of mind, which is completely priceless.
When you're structuring these boring investments, what you really want to find is the efficient frontier. Now that's a fancy Nobel Prize-winning term, but simply put, it's just the sweet spot that gives you the maximum return for the lowest possible risk. The big takeaway for us is that minimizing wild volatility and risk completely beats the stress of trying to pick individual winning stocks. We are avoiding the get-rich-quick schemes entirely. So, a solid foundational portfolio strategy for young professionals definitely doesn't start with wild risks. First things first, you absolutely must build an emergency cash buffer. This reduces your daily stress and lets you sleep soundly even when the market is totally down. Second, invest in those simple, boring index funds we talked about. And third, prioritize your active income. Focus on mastering your full-time career to build stable, reliable cash flow before you spread yourself too thin chasing a bunch of risky side hustles.
As we bring all this together, I want you to keep this really powerful philosophy from the Pudanamona blog in mind. Happiness equals reality minus expectations. If you can limit your lifestyle inflation to just 1 or 2% a year, you essentially keep your expectations flat. Then, as your reality, your wealth, grows slowly and steadily through compound math, it's going to easily exceed those expectations. That is what allows you to feel immensely rich and totally at peace.
So, I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Wealth is truly just a predictable result of your behavior. So what's it going to be? Will you keep chasing that high-stress, get-rich-quick sprint that relies totally on luck? Or will you choose the boring, mathematical marathon that pretty much guarantees you'll cross the finish line? Start your slow marathon today, and I promise you, your future self will absolutely thank you.
Thanks for watching. If this gave you a new way to think about your wealth, subscribe to Langford Invests. Leave a comment below with the one savings move you're making this year, and I'll see you in the next one.